Live now.
Okay.
All right, everybody. We are back again for another edition of the Monday Night Recap Show for Tri State Football. As always, I am Daniel Kuhn, and I am joined by my co host and standings extraordinaire, Jacob Berkemeier, and we're here to talk about everything from this past weekend's action. We are obviously into knee deep into the playoffs now. So postseason football, we're getting down to the end. We're at the regional finals, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about from the regional semis. But before we do that, if you're looking for this on Facebook, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. The account stopped working, but nonetheless, it will be up on YouTube and all that good stuff, and I'm sure it'll get posted to Facebook after the fact. So apologies for that technical difficulties, but hey, we made it. I don't even know what show number this is, Jacob. Probably.
I think it is week 13, I believe.
Yeah,
or
we've been doing it for a while, right?
Yeah.
So we made it 13 weeks until we encountered this issue. We'll chalk it up to just one of those nights. But I digress. We're going to talk about the action that happened over the past weekend, and I'm just going to throw it to you, Jacob. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll get the screen shared and we'll start looking at this. So it was definitely a pretty crazy week. I think the biggest highlight was St. X and Lakota West. X went in on a walk-off field goal against Lakota West, so we'll see that here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So, yeah, we are officially to the championship, the regional championships here. So you have Moeller, who will take on St. X. So a nice GCL matchup. And then LaSalle is also D2 regional final against Anderson. So 3 out of the 4 GCL South schools made it. And then Alter in D4 is also in the regional championship. So you have 4 GCL schools making it into the last round of this regional. But so as we look at it, you can see Moeller did a pretty good job of handling Princeton, 28-10. I know it was close in the first half. I was at Taylor and Alter over the weekend, and I checked at halftime, and I saw it was like 10-10. And then I guess Moeller came out and kind of, put it to him in the second half and got some separation, was able to win. So good win for Moeller, definitely, especially after Princeton getting some momentum after a 30-point win against Hamilton the week before. You got anything for this game?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I wasn't in town this past weekend, so I wasn't at any games, but I was keeping up with this game, on Twitter and whatnot, and throw the box score, see what kind of looks like. Yeah, definitely, it was a very close game in that first half, and then it just seems like Moeller just found that it's almost like at one offensive play, right? They kind of broke the floodgates open, and they took off from there. Look at the total yards difference, right? I mean, it's like Anderson. That Moeller offense, once it gets rolling, is hard to stop.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ponatowski, 3,400 yards for the year, 48 touchdowns, 2 picks. He went 28 for 39, 315, 4 touchdowns. If he's playing that efficient where they don't turn the ball over. So, I mean, it's almost as a defense so tough because they have so many talented receivers. I mean, their running back, Tyler Jocelyn, he had 27 carries, 154 yards. And then on top of it, you can't even count on Ponatowski to really ever turn the ball over. So it's just it's almost as a defense you have to play near perfect to really slow them down.
I mean, look at it this way, right? They don't turn the ball over, and they play one of the most balanced offensive attacks in this, that we've seen. 39 passing attempts, 27 rushing attempts. I thought for a second it was 28 passing
38
attempts.
as a team. So,
Right.
39 passes, 38 rushes.
It doesn't get much more balanced than that, right?
Yeah.
So, in terms of Princeton, they came out and Moeller came out and kind of did the same thing they did at the beginning of the year, week 1, right? I'm pretty sure Moeller scored 28 points in that game as well. But the difference, between the first game and this game, it just seems like Moeller's defense also, kind of got Princeton's number.
Here's a big stat. Third down efficiency, 1 for 9, Moeller 9 for 15. Right. So it's going to be really – so that's also a credit to Moeller's defense, coming up big on money downs and, getting the stops when they need to. So, if their defense is playing that well too with the offense they have, it's going to be very hard to beat because you can see in the second half they played great complementary football. Just not giving up a touchdown that whole second half and then putting, 3 scores on the board. So, I think they're or a field goal. Or that was Princeton hit a field goal.
They got 2 scores.
But I guess,
it was enough to break it open, right? That first touchdown put them up 11, right? That's a big difference, being up 4 versus being up 11, and vice versa, being down 4, being down 11, right? So
absolutely. But with all that being said, I think we'll just move on and take a peek at the St. X Lakota West game because that one went down to the wire. So I'm pretty sure what happened was West at the end of the game was driving and then ended up missing a field goal as time expired to tie the game. So you can see it was definitely a defensive battle. No scores in the fourth quarter, and it's pretty tough to get a touchdown. X was able to get a safety too, so I'm not sure what happened on that. If they had a good punt or if there was a bad snap or something that set that up. But looking at the box score, it's amazing how X has kind of found ways to win this year because I feel like they've rarely had a game where they've popped. You look at the box score and all the numbers are popping, and then people who are they haven't necessarily looked dominant, but they just know how to win these close games and keep these games close too. And that just speaks to, I think, Coach Speck and how he gets these guys prepared and just they're so experienced in these types of playoff situations too.
Absolutely. I think for X, I think over the course of the season, they've struggled to find their true identity as a football team. Right, they've kind of been all over the place. They had some games where they scored really well on offense. They had some games where they scored really bad on. They didn't play very well on offense. They tried Vollmer at quarterback instead of Herbstreit at one point in the year. Right, so they're just kind of constantly searching, but I think they found it, and that's this team. And I'm going to sit here and make this claim, right, because we're at this point in the season. I think this team really built on its defense. Look at what Kobe Clapper's been doing all year. Yeah, and he's just one guy, right? There it is again. You know what I mean?
10 tackles. He's
to get a fumble recovery as well.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just they have that's just how they've predicated their team this year. Right. And now we look into the next step, right? The finals. And how does X get in this game with Moeller? Well, obviously they play each other all the time. So there's that element, right? You're playing a familiar foe. That always helps. So I can imagine it might be probably pretty close. But if you're X, you have confidence your defense is going to step up and maybe hold Ponatowski in that Crusaders offense to a little less high-powered than normal, right? It's not to say that Moeller's not going to score, but you can put him in a position where you're like, all right, we can win this game. Now you turn to the offense and you're like, well, what's our identity on offense? And for whatever reason, that two-headed attack between Vollmer and Herbstreit, they've been running the ball so efficiently from the position this year.
That was the funny thing. Herbstreit had 15 passing attempts 74 yards and a pick. But then you look down here, 41 rushing attempts. Daniel Vollmer, 23 for 110, and Chase Herbstreit had a good day too, 11 for 54 and a touchdown. So I think their path to beating Moeller this week, I think, is just going to be controlling time of possession. You got to find a way to somehow frustrate and get Ponatowski kind of off of his game a little bit, or somehow. I mean, no team's really been able to do it. I guess Mallard Creek was really the only team that was able to kind of, because I think those are the only time his only interceptions came from that game, and he kind of struggled there. So I don't know if they have the film on that, but maybe look into that film and see if you can find something there.
I'm sure Steve Speck has somebody he knows
some connection, down there
that has obtained a copy of that game film. I'd be willing to put money on that.
That's really the only way I can see it happening, because they played them really well the last time. That's what I was pulling up earlier. I mean, but Moeller, that's the thing. Moeller jumped out to a 28-7 lead, and then X was able to almost storm all the way back. They just kind of ran out of time. So if you kind of take away this first quarter, they played a really good football game, defensively especially, but it's just that first quarter, they were just.
Well, the tone of that game, right? The tone of that game was set from the get-go. I mean, Herbstreit broke it for 80 yards, right up the middle. I was watching it, and you were there, right? Yeah. So it's like right up the middle, right up the gut. He took it all the way to the house. It's like, oh, here we go, right? Now we get down to that nitty-gritty postseason football. I don't see it being this high-scoring game, but like you said, X's key to path to success is controlling that time of possession, not turning the ball over, getting your guys running, getting the ground game going, and just keep away from the Moeller offense, basically.
Yeah, because I felt like in this game, you can see, obviously, even taking away that 80-yard run from Herbstreit, they had a lot of success running the football in this game. So I really do think what X's problem was in this game was they got down 28-7. So then you can't lean on the run really that much. You're just playing from behind. I think you can jump out ahead and, just work that clock. That's going to be their best bet. It's
the tale of two different offenses, right? Moeller absolutely predicates themselves on the passing game and the arm of Ponatowski. X is all about the run. Which one's going to find the most success? It's what it boils down to.
Yeah. So, that covers kind of the first round, or the Division I bracket. So, I still think I'm going to give the slight edge to Moeller here. They've been really good all year, but I definitely think this game will be another close one, like the regular season. It'll make for a great game. So, but yeah, I think we'll move on to D2, which, as you can see here, Anderson continues the steamroll, 42-0 over Mount Healthy. And then LaSalle also shuts out Harrison 37-0. So I think we kind of talked about this when we saw the bracket for this. We kind of felt Harrison was a sleeper team, but really it should be LaSalle and Anderson in this final game, and we're here now. So definitely both of these teams are on a roll. I feel like LaSalle had a lot of momentum after beating Elder in the pit week 10, and then they've just kind of, 69-21, beating a pretty solid Kings team 35-27, and then this week just beating the brakes off of Harrison 37-0. So they're hot, and we talked about it too. Like, they have athletes in that secondary that, Sire Smothers is a really good player. They have good safeties. That's really, they're all going to have to come ready to play against this Anderson passing attack. But this is, I think, besides Winton Woods, this is going to be Anderson's best matchup that they've had all year. So
I mean, like we talked about when this bracket came out, I mean, this just screamed Anderson LaSalle all over it. And
Yeah.
you make a great point. LaSalle had, I've seen both teams play this year. LaSalle has had its fair share. I can't talk, Jacob. Fair share of struggles, on the offensive side of the ball. They had a lot of success with that defensive secondary, but now you look at the role they've been on since that win in the pit, like you talked about. I mean, they are riding a wave of momentum. Problem with that wave is that there's a big, ginormous orange and black brick wall at the end of that wave, right? The main thing, for Anderson to be successful, they have to navigate the LaSalle secondary, with care. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're playing from behind because you turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And for LaSalle, they can rely on that secondary to give them, a little bit of hope, right? That gives them some confidence. The main thing for LaSalle is getting McLaughlin going. If they can get him going, then this could be a really good game. If Anderson's defense comes out and kind of stifles that Lancer offense, then this could be another one of those Anderson beats them by 50. We all throw our hands up, go, oh, Anderson did it again. And then next week they play somebody else, and we're like, oh, maybe they'll have a shot, and it'll just be the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
But, I think for me, just from my perspective, this has got to be one of the bigger games of the year. Because I think I say that because this is also two schools that you don't see face off against each other. Right? Anderson doesn't really touch the GCL schools when they're not playing conference opponents. Kind of vice versa. You don't really see that many of those GCL schools come and play, teams from the ECC, right? Because they're the division lower. So, except LaSalle, but LaSalle's a D2 school that plays a D1 schedule. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's like, you don't see these teams play each other very often, and it should be exciting. I hope it's a close one because I want it to be exciting, right?
Yeah. I think it will be because I do think that LaSalle they're on a really good roll right now, and I think they have the talent to really give what Anderson wants to do. I think they can take that away a little bit.
Definitely.
Now, does that mean they'll win? Not necessarily, but I do think it's going to be close. And I mean, Anderson's kind of just been skating by. The Winton Woods game still really their only close game experience that they've had this year. So that's my only concern with them is just, when if it's in the fourth quarter and it's a tie ball game or you're down a score.
How do you respond?
Right, because they haven't been in that situation much this year. So
definitely.
But, it could all be for nothing and they could win,
I would be more
10.
Yeah, right. I would be more like, oh, Anderson's just going to do Anderson things. I would be more that way if LaSalle didn't absolutely blow away Harrison. Yeah. Because I thought Harrison was a pretty good team this year. And I remember we talked about it last week. I saw that matchup. Like, that could be a pretty good game. Harrison's is a little bit better than people are probably giving them credit for. Apparently, we were both wrong because LaSalle took it to them. So now, you know what I mean? Now it's like, whoa, wait a minute. LaSalle may be, cooking with some special.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering too, I mean, I wasn't at that game. I was at the Taylor game, but I'm just wondering, you got to imagine that LaSalle just completely neutralized Cole Coops in that Harrison run game. Because that was kind of Harrison's X factor, I feel like, throughout the year was how good of a back he's been. And
definitely.
LaSalle's just got a really good defense. So I think it's like and we saw, and I kind of have seen that in what Alter has done through the Division IV playoff run. They've just been swallowing up run games. Like just like teams are abandoning the run game after a quarter.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
they just realize like, all right, well, there's no point in us trying to do this. Like,
right, if you're not getting any yards on the ground, you gotta figure something else out.
But yeah, I mean, I think Anderson, LaSalle, we got really good matchups in Division I and Division II. So We'll very quickly go over D3 because we are not very familiar with London or Bellbrook, but that is your Division 3 Region 12 final. So I don't know if you have anything to add about London or Bellbrook.
Did Bellbrook beat McNick? Did they not?
I think so, and I believe they also played Alter too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know I know in the past this year, Wapakoneta is a name that popped up a few times.
Yeah.
In some of the games we had talked about, or I had covered, or you had something. One of us wrote a recap or something.
Yeah, they were the 2 seed too. Yeah,
I think it came up for me a couple times in like recaps on Saturday or something like that. Maybe they were if I recalling correctly, they had a pretty good team this year. So that Bellbrook seems like they're really riding a lot of momentum. And I don't know anything about London. All I know is that they've handled. If you scroll back up, I think they've handled pretty much everybody with ease. I mean, I guess CJ kind of gave them
it was fight, a little close.
But
this will probably end up being a pretty good game.
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. I guess I'll have to do some research this week to kind of understand, what the teams are both about. So when we see the final score next week, we can kind of give a little bit. I know it's like we're the Tri-State football, right? And we cover the teams in our area, and neither one of these teams are in our area. Yeah. So it's like I have no clue who these teams are, but I feel like we should at least
definitely have a little bit more to
be
say.
London's got a really good running game. I'm like I could not tell you a single thing about that. I don't even know where Bellbrook is.
Yeah, let's see where the games get played. Yeah, Springfield High School.
Yeah.
I'm
going to go on a limb and say Bellbrook's by Dayton, but I could be totally wrong. That's a total shot in the dark.
I mean, that's probably not a bad guess. But we'll be better for D3 next week.
If Centerville was in there, it would be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, like Centerville. If McNick would have won, these two games here. I know we talked about that. We were kind of pulling for McNick just because we knew the most about him.
But hey, you know what? I mean, we're giving them some love.
Yeah,
we talked about them. I thought you probably would just not talk about it at all because both those teams.
No, I just wanted to at least show it. Show who was playing in that. But
fair enough.
Yeah. So in the D4, the craziest bracket we've seen yet. So Indian Hill lost 30-14 to Taft, which will give us a matchup of Taft and Alter. So I'll go back up to that Taft game, but since I was at the Taylor and Alter game, I want to talk about that a little bit. So this score and the box score does not indicate how close the game was. Going into halftime, Taylor was down 10-7 with they were getting the ball to start the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Second half starts, they get stopped, and instead of punting on a 3-and-out in around their own 20, they went for it on a 4th and 10, didn't get it. Alter scores, then next drive, first play, Taylor throws a pick 6, and all of a sudden now, instead of being down 3, you're down 17.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, and I think Alter actually maybe missed one of the extra points, but either way, it was one of those, just a really quick swing. And I think that it just kind of got out of hand way too quick for Taylor. But I'll show you here. I mean, they just stopped. I mean, the run game was non-existent for Taylor. They literally abandoned the run game probably after the first 2 drives. Like Easton Shrimp and Grant Ferguson, I believe, combined for around 1,600 yards this year running the football, and they just could not get anything going. And this is pretty much what happened with Wyoming the week before, too. Mm-hmm. Wyoming couldn't really get anything going in the ground game. Then you see Charlie Cants, I didn't really think had a terrible day. He had some really nice passes, some beautiful over the shoulder balls, but it was a little bit too much to overcome when they couldn't get anything positive in that run game. Cause then it was like, and then Alter runs a triple option, which I did not know. So Alter was just dominating.
I'm going to go on a limb and say because Alter only had 2 passing attempts, I'm going to say, yeah, they probably run an option or something.
Yeah. Going in, I didn't know that. So as I was watching, I was just like, oh my gosh, they're just like, and that was Taylor really played a great first half defensively too, because the Alter touchdown was like a 65-yard run that it was a nice little, mesh on they faked, I think, like a weak side dive and then hit the deep back for a counter and then just had the whole Taylor defense going one way and bounced it back.
Right.
But that was the only mistake Taylor really made that whole first half. And then I think after that pick six, it was just wheels kind of started coming off a little bit. There was Taylor got hit with 6 or 7 like unsportsmanlike penalties on defense, and it got out of hand. But that's not to take away from the season that Taylor had, because what they've been able to build in these last 4 years has been really cool. Coach Stransman's done a really good job there. But, I mean, Alter and Coach Dom Seitz has them playing really well. And I think Taft's they're in for a challenge. And same with Alter, though, because Taft's got a really good squad, too. They've been beating the brakes off of a lot of people in this. I'm going to see if I can find Taft.
I have.
I think they're in, Cincinnati Metro. So, we can look at this box score real quick.
I'm going to tell you the big thing that's going to jump out to everybody. That one's not full. If you go to the CHL with Indian Hills, it is.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you what's going to stick out to you.
Yeah.
5 turnovers for Indian Hill. Ben Schiel. Is that how you say his name? Sitchell. I don't know how to say his last name. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Sitchell. Tough night at the office for the Indian Hill quarterback. But if you go back and look at like the total yards and stuff, very even match, very close in terms of offensive output, right? But it's if you're losing that turnover battle -5, it's just not going to happen.
No.
Right. And then Taft's really got a great rushing attack, right? I mean, we keep saying that about all these teams this year, right? But Taft's another one of those schools that love to pound the rock. And I think kept them in check for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they had a couple hundred yards, but that's not anything super crazy. It's just you're never going to find success turning the ball over 5 times, and that's not a slight on Ben Sitchell, right? I mean, it just you have that bad nights, but it's tough, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and part of that too is like once you get down, it ended up being 22-7, so then it's like you kind of got to throw the ball. You don't really have a choice. So
that, and it's like you look at it, Taft run down the field and scored. Okay, you know what I mean. Open the game up. All right, let's get the ball back and let's go. Immediately throw a pick six. Do you know what I mean? It's just such a hard sequence of events, especially at the beginning of a football game to kind of come back from. And you look at that. You look at Taft's schedule when they lost to 2 pretty good schools, right? Pretty good opponents, and they beat Alter. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
So
too.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting game, because I think Alter's definitely found some momentum, because they were kind of like we weren't really picking Alter out of this the D4. Like I know they weren't really on my radar as much as like these the Cincinnati Hills League schools, between Taylor, Wyoming, and Indian Hill. And I mean, Alter surprised me, but we'll see. This should be a good matchup.
Like either there's a lot of difference between November 22nd and September 6th, right? Either Alter just maybe hadn't found their stride yet. I'm excited to see this matchup. It should be a good one.
Well, and I think too, Taft gets 5 picks against Indian Hill, and Alter runs a triple option. So Alter is going to throw the ball 5 times max on Friday. It's like, I think that's where it'll be a little bit different, but both good running team or, rushing the football team. So we'll have to see, but I did, cause I have Kentucky pulled up. I wanted to just touch on some of these Kentucky schools real quick. Ryle, who has been dominant all year, they have moved on. They beat St. X from Louisville, so that's a really good win for them.
First team, I forget the tune. They're only the 3rd team in the last 25 years to knock Louisville St. X out of the playoffs.
Wow.
3rd different. Yep.
They did it handle. I mean, by 3 scores too.
Yeah. They handled them quite easily.
Yeah. So they play Central Hardin. So I think, Ryle's been steamrolling all year. I think they're gonna keep going, and then just moving down. I don't think there's any other. So we're gonna have our eyes on Ryle for the 6A.
Trinity from Louisville is always pretty tough too. I saw them kind of
down here. Yeah 45-0, 63.
Yeah, I keep an eye on them for sure.
But Ryle wouldn't play Trinity until
the championship.
I think this is state finals here, because they don't do like the regions and stuff where
they do everything different.
Ohio will release like the condensed version once all the regionals get decided. But then in 5A, we'll take a look here. Cooper. So Cooper, I think finished the year in like 3rd ranked in our tri-state football rankings. Yeah, I think they still are.
Yeah, we're one game away from getting Cooper and Highlands.
Yeah, and talk about a really good. I think they played earlier in the year.
I think they did too. I think it was a close game.
Let me see. Yeah, 21-24. Cooper won. So we're gonna cross our fingers and hope for Cooper and Highlands next week out of this 5A in Kentucky, because that'll be a really good game. And that's going to, I think you're looking at that, and obviously we don't really cover any of these teams from more Southern Kentucky, but you got to imagine whoever's going to win this game down here, if they both advance,
they got a good shot.
They got a good chance to win state. So, we're kind of blowing through this real quick, but we're on. So Covcast in the 4A sneaks by with a 14-13 win. So huge win for Covcast there. They're always good. They're always, bound to make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. So they play Boyle County this week.
What a sick school name, by the way, at the bottom. Ashland Blazer. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I guess Covcast's the only team from that we would really cover at all. And then 3A, I don't know if there's any. I don't think. Nope. And then 2A, you're going to Beechwood this week, aren't you?
I am on Friday, yes.
Yeah, so Beechwood, Martin County.
Never heard of Martin County, but I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, you will, yeah. But Beechwood, Tyler Fryman's really good, and then I think that Tyler Fryman's their receiver. Forget their quarterback's name, but their quarterback is a stud too.
These Kentucky schools have some wild names. Does that say Betsy Lynn?
Betsy Lane.
Betsy Lane.
Yeah.
It's the whole name.
So Beechwood's the only team we're really keeping our eyes out for. And then Class 1A, you got Newport here, and then Newport Central Catholic. So we're rooting for that, baby. We're rooting for a good old Newport matchup next week.
And NCC has been tough all year.
Yeah.
I keep my eye out on them for sure.
Yeah, they beat Bishop
Brossart, right down the street from here. I didn't even realize they had a football team. That goes to show you how much we hear about Bishop Brossart. No offense to him at all. I didn't even know.
You're living around there and don't even know.
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Come on, you get the school spirit up a little bit.
Because they're going to go to a game next year.
Yeah. But so for people tuning in, the schools we're looking for in Kentucky, we're looking for in 1A, the Newport Central Catholic matchup, 2A, Beechwood, 3A, nothing, 4A, Covcath, 5A, we want the Highlands, Cooper rematch, and then 6A, Ryle to go all the way. So that's basically what's going on in Kentucky, and so that's about all I got for tonight. And
I'll leave it off with one more thing before we close out for the evening. East Central did not advance.
Oh, they didn't?
They did not. They lost to Decatur Central, a team from Indianapolis. It was pretty close. It might scroll across the bottom of the screen, but I think it's the first time in four years that East Central will not be in the state championship game. So pretty crazy. As it wasn't quite the year I think East Central was looking for, a little bit of a down year by their standards.
I mean, it's hard to be perfect every year.
There it is right there. Yeah, 21-16, right? So not quite the year they were looking for this year, but still something they can look back on and build some momentum on. That's all I've got. You got anything else, Jacob?
No, I don't think so.
All right, everybody.
If your teams are still in it, good luck to everybody's teams. And if you're just watching for the love of the game, we are too. So
I'm watching for the love of the game because I don't want to watch the Bengals play football anymore.
We're not talking about that. We're just So, but enjoy all the games this week. We have a really good slate coming up, so it should be a fun one. But
yes, sir. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, apologies for the Facebook. Elon Musk decided he didn't want to cooperate with us tonight. But we hope everyone enjoyed the show. We will, I guess we'll be back next week to talk about everything regional champions, and then on to
I think we'll pretty much go until literally like every team is eliminated or somebody's won
the championship, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'll be talking about a little bit of state finals and some regional championship games next week. So make sure to tune back in 7:00, unless I decide to take a longer eating dinner or something. I'm kidding. I'll see everybody. We'll see everybody next week.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.